welcome to episode 4 of the Tea and Possibilities podcast. I'm Nikki and this is a podcast all about knitting, making and crafting all the things here in Southsea in Portsmouth on the south coast of England. First of all, I really want to say a massive thank you to everyone who has watched the episode so far and who has come back again. Hello, welcome back. And to any new people, if this is your first episode, hi, welcome to the podcast. I hope you've got a cup of tea and some knitting and are ready to have some chill time with me. As always, you can find me online on Twitter and Instagram at hippie_Nikki. You can find me on Ravelry as Nikki Hippie, and you can find all the show notes at my blog, and all the links will be just down there. Today's tea, we're back to Earl Grey again. I do love Earl Grey, it's just kind of my go-to. And unfortunately, I did not get any pumpkin spice tea last weekend. I went and had a look, couldn't find any. Don't know where you can get this. I mentioned online on Twitter that, you know, I was actually quite enjoying pumpkin spice lattes and I wasn't sure what I was going to do when they disappeared. And a couple of people recommended syrups, but I'm not really into making coffee at home. I just don't really make good coffee. So I'm still striking out for some tea and hoping that I find some. But look at this mug! Again, not my mug. This is actually Rich's because he got this for some work he did at Wyke Farms. But I just love it. I just think it's just funny. I'm basically a child and I think it's really funny that it's an Ntter. So yeah, good cup of nice strong Earl Grey. I'm actually thinking of picking up some Lady Grey next time I'm at the shops. I keep seeing it and it's got like oranges on the front and things, so yeah, how bad can it be? This weekend is a little bit different. Rich is actually away this weekend. He's having a bit of a boys' one. I think there'll be lots of football, playing football, watching football, video game football, a lot of football. And he's usually the one that focuses the camera for me because this is not my camera. It is his very fancy DSLR, which he very kindly trusts me with, but he usually sets it up and focuses it all for me. So today has been a bit of an interesting one. I kind of piled loads of stuff on the chair and put my little, which you won't be able to see because it's slightly out of focus, but I put my little "Will You Be My Valentine" sheep on top of all these boxes and focused on the sheep. So hopefully that will also have focused on me. If it's slightly soft focus, we're going to just call it an effect and go with it, okay? I'll come to what I'm going to be up to this weekend in Knit and Ntter and what I've been up to this week as well. But needless to say, it's been generally quite a positive week, but brace yourself for tales of woe coming up with Whipped Up. So yeah, as I said, tales of woe this week. Literally everything I worked on went spectacularly wrong in one way or another. So I think we're going to just start with the worst one and it'll just improve from there. What do the Knitmore girls say when knitting attacks? It attacked big style this week. We're going to start off with my Lillypilly. Now, you may remember that last week I said I was going to finish up the garter section and start the lace. And you guys were going to come this week and I was going to have like 10 rows of this beautiful blue lace done and you were going to finally see the blue against the sandy colours and it was going to be gorgeous. It was going to be gorgeous. Well, this is what I have. As you can see, the blue, that tiny bit of blue, is very, very beautiful against the beachy stripes. Really beautiful. But here's where we hit a problem. I started knitting the lace and just to give you some context, we had started watching Mr. Robot while I was knitting the lace. Which is why I thought the first 2 times it wasn't working out because I was getting to the end and I wasn't having enough to do the last little repeat. So I pulled it back and I tried it a 3rd time And it didn't work the third time, and I went, do you know what? I'm just far too into this TV show. I'm going to put this down and I'm going to pick up something else. So I picked up my Cozy Memories blanket instead. The next morning, while I was in the shower, a really horrendous thought struck me. And that thought was, when was the last time you counted how many stitches you had? And yes, I just didn't have enough stitches. As you can see, the garter section is on a bias. So there are some increases and decreases involved to create that. And apparently I had decreased without increasing. How do you do that? It's garter stripes. It's the most straightforward thing in the entire world. How on earth do you forget to increase at one end, or how do you forget to decrease at the other end? I don't even know how I manage that. I mean, yeah. So what am I going to do with this? Well, I considered my options, and as far as I can see, there are two options. The first being that I pull out every stripe and count and find where I was last at the right stitch count. And the other option is that I just pull it out completely and start again. And you know what? I think it's about as long as it is tall, so I'm going to pull it all out. And I do feel like a bit of a lummox, because that's just ridiculous. I mean, that's the most stupid thing I've done in a while. But I haven't been working on it very much recently. I literally did about 10 more stripes and then I was starting the lace. So I'm not like massively invested back into this project. And at this point, I'm so annoyed with myself. I feel like I would just rip it out, start again, and do a better job. My plan this time is to, at the end of every stripe, before I start the next colour, to count. That way I can find out immediately if I have fudged the numbers in any way, and I can just tink back that one row and not have to worry about getting to the end of the garter section and not discovering till I start the lace. I mean, really? If it was a bigger mistake, I don't think I'd mind as much, but Rich was taking me to work again, and I was telling him in the car, and I literally was just sat going, I just can't believe that I did this. I feel really daft. But yeah, I'm just going to start again, and it's beautiful yarn. As always, the pattern is by Amber O'Brien, it's the Lillypilly, and the yarn is custom dyed by Amy at Stranded Dye Works. It's beautiful yarn. I don't mind having to knit with it a bit more. I just kind of wish I'd been slightly less of a numpty, really. What are you going to do? That's my biggest tale of woe this week. But as I said, pretty much everything I worked on, something went wrong with it. So, next up is my Cozy Memories blanket by the lovely Kemperay of Junk Yarn, and it's in various mini skeins. As you can see, I've started the second row. I'm 2 squares in, so that's good news. But I probably would have been further in if it were not for the amount of time I spent scratching my head over this. It turns out that my decrease rows in the middle here, which are all going diagonally this way, are actually going in a different direction to the one in the pattern. So I just couldn't. It was quite late. I mean, it was 9:30, which is really late when you've been up early and you've gone to the gym and you've had a very carb-based dinner. It's very late. And I just could not get my head around how to cast it on to make it go the way I had been making it go. And I just couldn't. Have you ever had that where you understand that it's simple, but actually you just can't wrap your head around it at all. Even Rich got down on his hands and knees. We had it spread out on the carpet, and we were just both there, like on our hands and knees, going, well, okay, well, if you put it there, it'll decrease here. And we worked it out in the end. As you can see, they are all going in the same direction. I did consider having them go in the other direction and then have the next row go in the right direction, so that it would be a zigzag through the blanket. But actually, I wasn't sure I was going to like that. I wasn't sure at that point that I could actually figure out how to do that. So yeah, I just went with the right stripe in the right direction, and it is working now. And here we have My Mum and It's from the Alice in Wonderland collection. This is All Shall Have Prizes. And this is from the Pop Fizzle collection by Kate Celine. And it's like a raspberry red slushy, which I really, really love. I love that one. This one is coming up next. It is Owl About Yarn. And unfortunately, as I said before, they didn't come labelled, so I'm not sure which colourway this is. But it is a black and green. I think it's self-striping. I don't know if I've mentioned before, but Rich does the majority of the choosing of the colours. As I'm coming to the end of a square, I will chuck in the bag and go, right, pick the next, one or two. And I think he probably chose this one because it's a wee bit Halloween-y, isn't it? It's a bit spooky, zombies. So that will look, I think, really, really nice, because we've got the bright pink opposite this very pale pink, and then we're going to have this black and green, and I think that's going to look, I think that's going to look really, really good. So I'm excited to get that cast on here later this afternoon. One thing I have been starting to do is, instead of casting on with my needles, I have actually been casting on with my tiny crochet hook. I keep one with me, it's like a little key ring, and it's for picking up drop stitches. And I just find it so much quicker to have my needle here, and then I use the crochet hook to cast on. Because it's got the little hook, it just means I'm not trying to like fiddle about with the needle as much. It goes in, wrap the yarn around, pull it through. It's just a lot quicker. So maybe that will mean I can get a little bit more work done on this week. And hopefully I have had my brain fart with this, and we'll continue on with all smooth sailing from now on. I mean, that's probably wishful thinking, but girl can dream, right? Lastly is a little update on my mini Weasley jumpers. I'm actually keeping these in a really strange place. I've got this silicone loaf tin that's in all these like swirly tie-dye colours, which we don't actually use to bake bread in. And somehow I have acquired it just to keep all my jumpers and my DPNs and my stitch markers in and things. As you may have guessed, I did not complete the collection. Turns out that knitting one mini sweater after another is actually kind of monotonous. I know, you would never have guessed, would you? Who knew? I have got one half finished. Got another of the little 70s gent jumper, just needs some sleeves. I think I'm probably going to finish that today, or this weekend at least. But this is a cute one. It's Mad Tosh Merino Light, and because it's a much lighter weight yarns than the others, and there's so many ends. I don't know why I had that many ends, but they will be woven in at some point. Anyway, this obviously came up a lot smaller than the other ones, so I think this might just be an additional one that I give to a small person. I know a few, so this might go to a little small person as their little thing to go on the tree. But I just thought that was really, really beautiful. Colourway is Robin Redbreast, I believe, and I used it to knit up a red robin shawl by Helen Stewart of Curious Handmade, which is a great podcast and you should listen to it. So yeah, I really do like that one. I have got the green in the same weight, and I'm not sure if I will bother, having seen how small this one knit up, if I will bother making that one. But we shall see how tired I get of making them in brown and cream and blue. Now, while the knitting has attacked pretty much across the board this week, I have had some good yarny bits and bobs in the post, which is really nice. I love good post. First up is this. This is, I think there's 5 skeins in here of 4-ply superwash merino. All undyed. There's 100 grams in each skein. 1, 2, 3, yep, 4, 5. 500 gram skeins. And these are for me to dye with. I am so excited. Been waiting for these to come for a few days. And yeah, they are probably going to end up in the dye pot this weekend or next weekend. Next weekend I'm probably making my Christmas puddings, so I'll be in the kitchen anyway. And these might be my reward for spending ages making Christmas puddings. I might dye some beautiful colours on these, so very excited about that. It's not yarn, but I have to share this because it's really cool. Got myself a new phone case. This is a Harry Potter inspired one. My one had a watercolour Dreamcatcher on the front, and it was really pretty, but was falling to pieces and starting to look pretty tatty. So I decided to get myself a new one, and this is the Advanced Potion Making book by Libacious Borage, who this was the book in the Half-Blood Prince. So there you go, new phone case just for geeks. I think I've mentioned before how much I struggle with sock knitting. I don't know why. I think it didn't go well the first couple of times. Now I've got kind of a mind block about it. But for my Cozy Memories blanket, I needed a spare pair of small needles. I tried them on DPNs and I really didn't like it, so I thought, well, I'll just get a short cable needle. And I'd never tried hires before, so I bought myself very short hire cable, which I have just here. So as you can see, it is very short. It's 2.5 mil. Don't know if you can see that. It's very small. And as soon as I started knitting with it, I just fell in love. They are beautiful. They're just so slick. They're very good for very thin yarn because they don't split it, because they're so sharp. They just beautiful. And I thought, well, I've been trying to use ChowGoos to knit socks with, and I love my ChowGoo interchangeable set. Love them. I'm using it for my Lillypilly. I really love them as needles. I invested in an interchangeable set, but I might have to get myself a higher set as well. I picked up these from Deramore's, and they're 2.5 mil needles. I'm fairly new to sock knitting, so I didn't want to go too tiny, and they are 80 centimetres. So I'm hoping that's enough to have a go magic loop. As I said last week, I've been using DPNs to do the neck of the mini sweaters, and they are so fiddly. I just thought, I'm gonna try magic loop. I've tried it before, I get on quite well with it, so I'm gonna give these a go, guys. And maybe I will level up as a podcaster and actually produce socks, because I feel like every podcaster every other week just goes, oh yeah, this is just these amazing lace socks that I knit. I just happened to do the second one this week as well, and I'm just sat there in total awe, like, you're so casual about this, about making socks, like it's just like, it ain't no thing, I just knit some socks. It's like, for me, that is such a big deal, especially when you're doing them with, I know Ntter of Kiltcraft did these amazing I Heart Bees, I think it's her own pattern, honeycomb. Amy of the Stranded podcast is doing the Saturday matinees, which have this beautiful lace up the foot. And, you know, they're just talking about them like, oh yeah, just, you know, knit some socks. And I just think, oh, I want to knit socks. I want to knit socks. So hopefully these will be the key to the kingdom, and before you know it, I will be, you know, just need, you know, every other week, pair of socks, fully handmade sock drawer. Okay, last but by no means least, I had a truly mega parcel arrive this week. It was something that I saw loads of people using last year, and I really, really wanted one, but they'd sold out, and I thought I'm gonna get one next year. And it came out about a week, 2 weeks ago, and I snapped one up and it arrived this week, and I'm just so excited about it. I'm gonna get it. Look! It's amazing! In case you haven't guessed, this massive box, which is bigger than my head, this is the Opal Sock Yarn Advent Calendar. I'm so excited! There are 24 little mini skeins in here, a sock yarn. Can you tell how excited I am? I know I mentioned that I might get it, but I just decided to bite the bullet. I wanted it so much last year. And so yeah, now I have it for this year, and I'm so, so excited to open it up, and I might set myself the challenge of knitting a square a day on my Cozy Memories blanket, which I can very quickly see going out the window because Christmas is manic and crazy and there's always loads to do, but I'm gonna do my best. I'm just so excited. Oh, it's look, it's raining little tiny sock skeins. So yeah, I will be sharing that as I open it. What I might do is do a little film at the end of every week. I'll probably be opening it in the evening, so I won't do a film every day because it'll be dark. But what I might do is at the end of every week kind of take you through what I got in my lovely advent calendar. So, you know, it's not all woe here in Southsea this week. There have been some amazing high points, and I can't wait. I can't wait to open this on 1st of December, and can't wait to share it with you. It's going to be a lot of fun, I think. So let's move along to Here Be Spoilers. I've actually got a lot to share with you on Here Be Spoilers this week. Star Trek continues to be amazing. I continue to fall ever more in love with Data, he's just wonderful. I just love him. I just can't wait to see how his story develops. Yeah, so take it as a given that Star Trek, 2 thumbs up from me. But I wanted to share with you, first of all, this book. This is And the Mountain Echoes by Khaled Hosseini, which I may have mispronounced, so I'm really sorry if I have done. I actually found this on a train at New Year. We spent New Year in Cornwall, and we went into Truro to have a meal, and then to a couple of bars, and then we were going to watch the fireworks. We ended up on some dodgems randomly. But on the way into Truro, I found this on the train, and it just went into my pocket and stayed there the whole evening. And inside was this little note: please feel free to take home and read, which I thought was really nice. For some reason, I've only just got round to reading this. I think I was putting it off because I have previously read A Thousand Splendid Suns, and last year I read The Kite Runner, and both of them broke my heart. I remember The Kite Runner in particular. Rich and I were on the tube, and I was, you know, really into it, and I said, look, I'm really sorry, do you mind if I read? And he was like, yeah, that's fine. He had a book himself. And yeah, 10 minutes later he looked around and was like, are you okay? And I was literally, because I was on the tube, trying really hard not to cry. No spoilers here, but maybe beware of where you read The Kite Runner, because I was distraught. Highly recommend. But yeah, he does absolutely break your heart every single time. It's got a lot more characters in it. than his previous books. There is a lot more range in where the story is set. There is Afghanistan, Kabul in Afghanistan, California, Paris, a real variety of people. And he tells stories with such poetry and such a light touch that even the tragedy doesn't feel like you're being beaten over the head with it. He's very plain about things, almost quite matter of fact. And you see that, well, no, he's not just trying to tug your heartstrings here. This is actually just a representation of life, of real life. This is real life. It's not a fairy tale. You know, you don't always get a happy ending. You don't always get the ending you expect. So this, I would highly recommend. It is a fantastic book. I usually do a roundup on the blog at the end of every month of what I've been reading, and I will definitely be recommending this one. Very, very good. So obviously, having finished one book, time to start another one. I downloaded a couple onto my Kindle, which have been on my wish list for a really long time. I tend to put them on my wish list and buy them as I need a new book. And the first one is The Light Between Oceans by M.L. Stedman. And this has been on my wish list for a really long time. Just never got round to purchasing it. There was always something else that I got instead. And then I found out they're making a film of it with two of my most favourite actors. Alicia Vikander, who I loved in Ex Machina. That is a fantastic film and she is just amazing in it. She was also brilliant in Testament of Youth. It's also got Michael Fassbender in it playing her husband, and he's brilliant. You know, he was in Frank, which is a slightly odd film, but highly recommended. He was also in all the X-Men films. I just love him. I mean, it doesn't hurt that he's gorgeous, but, you know, I also really rate him as a professional. So, I'm really excited to read that. It seems like a really, really good story. I do like stories with good ethical tangles at their heart, so I'm looking forward to reading that one. And the next one I've got is The Muse, which is the second novel by Jessie Burton of The Miniaturist fame. I read The Miniaturist, I think, the year before last, because I got it for Christmas. I read it in probably 2 days, and I thought it was really brilliant. Really atmospheric, the character was very interesting, the plot was great, but I didn't really like the ending. I mean, I'm not going to go super into spoiler territory here, but if you haven't read it and you're going to maybe, you know, skip this little bit, I just didn't feel it tied up or answered any questions that I needed answering to feel that the thing had been resolved. It just kind of petered out for me. But I thought it was really, really strong up until that point, and I'm excited to try her second book. So I think that's probably going to be the one I read first. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to digging into both of those on my commute in the next coming weeks. She also has kind of put a bit of an idea in my head, which won't go away. I think I mentioned last week that I wanted to have a go at brioche in the new year. And loads of podcasters have been doing the Vintage Prim by Andrea Mowry, whose stuff I love, by the way. She is amazing. I've got a few of her, I've got two. I've got the Om shawl and the Yoga shawl, both downloaded in my library, and I really want to make those soon because they're gorgeous. And I've recently downloaded the May jumper, which is her most recent release. But everyone's been knitting up this Vintage Prim hat, which is in brioche and has like a beautiful kind of cable almost pattern up one side. And I have been looking at that thinking, is that maybe a good first brioche project? I mean, it's a hat. Hats are simple, but I've never tried brioche before, so who knows. But then I watched Rachel's podcast, and she mentioned that she'd received a skein of street art from Amy of Stranded, which is one of my favourites. I think I've got it favourited on Etsy, but I've not bought it because I don't have any idea what to make with it just yet. And then she also mentioned this other colourway by Nora George called History, which is sort of browns, burgundies and russets. And for some reason, those two just came together in my mind and I thought brioche. How gorgeous would that be if you had like the main colour of the hat in the kind of browns and reds of the History colourway by Nora George, and then you had the street art colourway, which is like, I believe pale grey is the base, and then there's all these shots of colour and it's highly speckled. And now I can't get it out of my head. I just can't get it out. So I think that might have to be my project for the new year, to have a go at brioche and to make that hat, because I just think in my head, it looks amazing. I don't know what it's actually going to look like, but in my head, it's great. I'm also going to mention here that the lovely Kat Molesworth of Blocktacular, which is another great audio podcast, as well as an event, which I went to for the first time this year, had an amazing time. But the Blocktacular audio podcast is a lot of fun. It's really interesting. She always has amazing guests, and I believe season 2 is due to start in November. So definitely check that out. But lovely Kat has actually started her own podcast, which is brilliant. I don't know if it's got a specific name at the moment. She's only got one episode up called That Awkward First Vlog, which I actually found really interesting because I just like being nosy and seeing how other people live their lives. So I just wanted to say a big hi to Kat. Welcome to YouTube, the podcasting world. And I hope you bring out loads more content, because I absolutely love what you do. Your event was a little bit of a life changer for me this year. It kind of clarified and crystallised a lot of my goals, things that I want to do. And I just want to see more of you spreading your glitter on the internet. So yeah, welcome. That's it for Here Be Spoilers. Let's move on to Knit and Natter. This week's Knit and Natter is going to be about my weekend. As I said at the beginning of the podcast, my partner Rich has gone away for the weekend, and I love him to bits, and he is my favourite person in the whole world to hang out with. But it is really nice to have the place to myself. It means I get to watch all my podcasts, I can sit in the bath for hours, I can read, I can do all the things that you can't really do when there's someone else around, because, they might not want to sit and watch podcasts all day. They might want to hang out and not have you locked in the bathroom for 2 hours. So it's really lovely to have some time totally to myself. And that being said, I am very much looking forward to him coming home tomorrow afternoon. So far this weekend, I got in last night and I caught up on loads of podcasts, and I tried to do a little bit more work on my cozy memories. I was going to pull out my Lillypilly, and I just thought, you know what? No. Let's have a positive start to this weekend. I'm not doing this. So I had some pasta and I put on my podcasts and I just did some knitting, and it was really lovely. And then this morning I had breakfast in bed. I did some knitting, I watched a couple more podcasts, and I just eased into the day, and it was absolutely lovely. I was very lucky that Rich actually left me a little present before he left. He has gotten really into baking bread over the last few months, and he's actually gotten really good at it. He's mastered kind of your basic white loaves, and now he's doing a lot of experimentation with the various other kinds of bread. He's using the Brilliant Bread book by James Morton, who was I think he was a finalist. I don't think he won, but he was on British Bake Off a few years ago. And it's a really, really good book. He seems to be getting really great results with it. He's made pain de mie, which is absolutely delicious, to the point where we've decided we can only have it once a month because it's like cake. It is just, it's so tasty. I love it. And he made earlier in the week seeded rye, which was a brilliant way to start the day with apricot jam on seeded rye bread toast. And before he left, because he is so into baking now, pretty much any time he goes to visit people, he takes a loaf of bread, which is really sweet, I think. And we picked up last weekend in Lidl. You know, they always have that bit in the middle where it's like mystery. You don't know what's going to be there from week to week. And last week they had amazing little loaf tins. So we picked up a couple, not expecting them to be great, but they were only like £1.50. So, you know, how bad can they be? And it turns out that they are excellent. They are really, really good. And now he can make 2 loaves at a time, nice little ones. So before he left, he made honey and walnut loaf. So I had that with a cup of tea last night, and I've had it as with a cup of tea for brunch this morning. It was absolutely delicious. So that's like my little treat, just sitting in the bread bin for when I get a bit peckish. That's really nice. I'm just feeling really, really good this week because I finally managed to get to the gym. I only went twice, and I did a little bit on the cross trainer and did quite a lot of arm weights. But it has helped. I mean, my mood has lifted. I feel like, even though it's only 2 sessions, whereas I was doing 5 to 6, it's a step in the right direction. So hopefully this week I can do 3, and you know, just building back up to where I was. My ankle is still quite sore. I don't need the crutch as much, but I do have to rely quite heavily on my trainers. They give a lot of support, which just helps me get about. I do take my crutch to work because there is a bit of a walk to my bus stop, and it just means that I've got that little bit of reassurance. So yeah, I'm just feeling really positive that there is a light at the end of the busted ankle tunnel. And I'm really looking forward to being back on my feet 100%. So yeah, I think the rest of today is going to be a fairly chilled one. I'm going to tidy up the flat because you would not believe how much podcasting can trash it. Really. I have to move all of the dining chairs out into the room so that I can, you know, have a clear space to the camera so that the camera can go over there. You know, this looks great, but what you cannot see is the carnage that it creates. So I'm going to give the flat a bit of a tidy, and then I think I'm going to put a wash on, and then I'm going to kick back and I'm going to pull out my Lillypilly and I'm going to restart it. I think I'm going to watch a couple of films. I'm also going to hopefully get this podcast edited together today. I usually leave it until Sunday to do it, because, you know, otherwise I spend all day working on the podcast, and we don't really get to do much together, Rich and I. So as he's away, I'm going to get it edited up today, and then tomorrow I'm going to get up and I'm going to have a play in the dye pot till he gets home, and then we can hang out. It's pretty cold, but it's such a beautiful day. I'm hoping it'll be just as beautiful tomorrow, and maybe we can go down to the beach and get an ice cream. So yeah, I just feel really, really positive at the moment. I was a bit worried that last week's episode was going to have to be titled Grumposaurus, because I did feel like, you know, as I said in Ntter last week, I felt a bit just down on myself, and I just feel great this week. Like I said, it's only 2 sessions at the gym, but that is 2 more than last week, and I will take that. So that's everything for this week. I hope you enjoyed the episode. Please do like and subscribe, and thank you so much again for just spending the time hanging out with me, and I hope to see you again next week, and we'll have another cup of tea. Take care, have a lovely, lovely week. Bye!